Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to continue on with this week's theme of Vulnerable Side, looking at songs that are a bit more thoughtful, pensive, personal. Right now, we're going to be checking out some Yes, which I'm sure is going to excite a lot of people as I still get requests on the last Yes video to continue looking at their works. We're going to be looking at And You and I today. This is the 2003 remaster. Yes, I understand some of you probably prefer the original. This is what I have to work with today. All right, if you want to put in the comments I got the wrong one, that's fine. That'll help me know I need to check it out later, but just so you know ahead of time, this is the remaster.
Okay.
Yeah, beautiful little opening right here. Yeah, very pensive. A slight melancholy to it, but overall a fairly joyous opening, leading us into this. Yeah, very playful first section.
Flowers daily sensing all the themes as a foundation left to create the spiral aim, a movement regained and regarded both the same, all complete in the sight of seeds of life with you.
I think it's in 4/4, but I don't know what our phrasing is.
Only for a sight, the sound of space agreed between the picture of
Maybe it's
time and
not
the
in
face of
4/4.
me.
Or maybe there's some pickup notes on this vocal melody.
Coming quickly,
I don't know, I'm just gonna enjoy this right now.
expression laid, emotion revealed as the ocean made, all complete in the sight of seeds of life with you.
Yes! Putting the vocals so much closer to the listener right here is a huge shift, and I think it works so well at closing the distance there.
And you and I climb over the sea to the valley, and you and I reach out for reasons to
Oh, beautiful blend into that. I also liked when they were singing You and I Will Do Something Something, just the two vocals. Really nice synergy there with that. Yeah, a really warm interlude coming from that last section. I'm digging this.
Coming quickly to terms of all expression made. Emotion revealed as the ocean made. As the movement regained and regarded both the same. Oh, complete in the sight of season life with you.
That synth in the left has kind of like a... I don't know, that's a sharp sound though. Very spacey. Yeah, once again, just a beautiful transition. Oh, we're back to... This was the intro idea. Maybe this was the missing link. This is in 6.
Sad preacher nailed upon the colored door of time. Insane teacher, be there,
Yeah.
reminded of the rhyme.
I gotta go back and listen to that first section
There'll be no mutant enemy, we shall certify.
and see if that's in 6 too.
Political ends, our sad remains will die. Reach out as forward taste begin to enter you.
What a tone. Yeah. Get that bass in there.
But could not see. Light tempo change out
That bass tone.
beside me. The preacher training on to lose his name. The teacher travels asking to be shown the same. In the end we'll agree, we'll accept, we'll immortalize that the truth of the man maturing in his eyes. Oh, complete in the sight
Phenomenal
of
counterpoint
seeds
going
of
on here.
life with
A lot of moving parts all simultaneously happening. So we moved to like a 7/8 feel right here. The vocal panning is wild.
of the morning, and you and I reach over the sun for the river, and you and I glide clearer towards the movement, and you and I gold over valleys of endless seas.
Yeah, very cool. Something I noticed there at the end in the vocal track was that the vocalists like to add a lot of jumps, kind of wide jumps, to the melodic phrasing, where they'll start high. Let me get this out of the way. They'll start high, and they'll kind of do a nice little rundown. Maybe there'll be a couple of movements in the middle where they come up, come back down a little bit, and then right when they hit the bottom, instead of uh, going to the root and landing on that to complete the phrase, they'll jump up a fifth or jump up an octave, and that'll be the note that they hold out. And the range, I think, makes more sense to hit that note, especially with the way that the phrasing's going and how that looks in the larger picture. But it's filled with these little hops coming down instead of continuing the path down and landing on the next note that makes sense to finalize this phrase. We make these large leaps upward. And I think there was a couple of times where we saw it do the opposite, where we would expect a higher note and he would drop it down. Yeah, very interesting melodic phrasing. So the song as a whole is very, very journey based. I was gonna say journey like, but then people might confuse that with me comparing it to Journey. Honestly, bands need to stop using single words as their names. I'm looking at you, Yes. It's very hard to look for comments about the band Yes when I search for the word Yes. That word shows up a lot. It's a fairly common word. Anyways, yeah. So it's very journey based. Now, that's not to say that it ignores even standard song structure for its time. There is still a verse chorus concept in here if you're listening close enough. Well, actually not if you're listening far away enough. It's observable from way outside. Um, we have our intro, then our verse, and then our chorus, then an extended interlude into a verse and a chorus, and an outerlude, an outro. Not an outerlude. What am I talking about? So yeah, it follows this verse chorus idea, but it puts the bridge in the middle of the two groups rather than after the second grouping to space out the final return to the chorus or to put in a third verse or whatever. So it's yeah, like I said, it's really neat to see them take standard idea like that and kind of turn it on its head and explore it in a different manner, a different path, while simultaneously also taking some steps to change it up. The first time that we see these come, well, actually, the only time we see these come back when we get to the repeated verse chorus section, the verse at least, I'm not too sure about the chorus, I'd have to go back and listen intently for this, but the verse changes some things up and introduces some new ornamental ideas into the guitar and drum work that allow it to stand out not just as a repetition but a variation of the verse one. So yeah, just once again, just creating a linear journey through more of a repetitive song structure. It's a fantastic decomposition of or deconstruction of that repetitive sort of ABABCB concept that we see a lot in rock. And yeah, they did a great job going through that, and like I said, reevaluating it and taking it from a different direction. Now, the other thing that really stands out to me with Yes, especially this song in particular, is voicings and just the wide variety of instrumentation and timbre that they utilize within their songs. I don't know how many instruments are present in the recording studio, how many instruments they bring with them to do this song live. I don't know how many members are in this band because there's so many things going on. We have 5 or 6 guitar tones, we have some synthesizer tones, a variety of synthesizer tones, which could just be one person with a variety of keyboards or synth boards or whatever to create all these different sounds. But the big takeaway is that the band sounds bigger than they probably are. They utilize a lot of variety and allows the song to, first of all, encompass several different ideas. The intro with I think it was 1 or 2 acoustic guitars playing, sounded vastly different than that prog rocky verse 1. Sounded very different from that larger than life, I don't even know what genre of rock to call it, that we get in the chorus, or any of the space rock stuff that we see in between. They can just sort of blend between all these different styles effortlessly thanks to the variety of timbres they have at play that they can bring into the picture. And I've talked about this before in comparing rock and metal, traditional rock and metal, your guitar, bass, drums, and vocals, comparing that to something like jazz or classical, especially larger classical stuff like orchestras, and of course larger jazz ensembles like big band, is that you don't have one instrument to fill a role. In rock, you have a treble lead, which is your guitar. You have a bass lead, which is your bass. You have a percussion, which is your drum kit. You can't remove any of these instrument voicings, or else you lose an entire portion of your range, or of the part of the music. Whereas in an orchestra, you can remove the trumpets, and all that does is remove the brassiness of the higher range place. You can remove the tuba, but that just removes the brassiness of it. You can remove your flutes, and all that does is remove the woodwind area of that range. There's a lot of percussive elements. You don't have to just have snare and bass and cymbal. Snare, drum, bass, drum, and cymbals. There's xylophones and marimbas and bells, triangles. There's a lot of extra stuff in the auxiliary percussion realm. So that is something that larger ensembles have at their disposal, is a wider range of timbres, so they can pick and choose what's being played at any part of time to change the feeling of the areas. And that's exactly what Yes is utilizing here. They have a lot of timbres that are not always in play at all times, and it allows them to pick and choose which ones are best for any specific situation to create a specific mood or idea. And it's expert. They have a vast mastery over the tools that they have. They know exactly when they should and should not be utilizing them. And again, they use it to great effect to achieve the sounds and emotions and feelings that they want to in each of these sections. And I want to make very clear that they do explore a lot of emotions and sounds throughout this track. It is 10 minutes, and like I said, there is a bit of repetition in there if you look closely, but in the several sections, whether it's the intro, the verse chorus, the bridge, which explores a couple of different ideas, or the outro, there's still a lot of variety within those. We're talking 6-7 sections at least within 10 minutes. And they do a fantastic job of selecting the exact proper timbre they want to emphasize exactly what they want to emphasize, whether it's an emotion or a sound or a depth. I mean, we start the song with two acoustic guitars, and somewhere in the bridge we have 2 guitars, a bass, a vocalist, a drum kit, a synthesizer, some electronica, spacey kind of sounds. It becomes extremely dense. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure we had some vocal harmonies there as well. So yeah, we don't just see a variety of timbres, we also see a variety of layering, or I should say amount of layering. We also see dynamics in volume. We start out rather small, we get huge, we get small in some other spaces, and there's this constant dynamic element of not just the volume but the width as well. And usually they go hand in hand. When we have less instruments, it gets quieter. But yeah, I think, yeah, just kind of the takeaway in total is dynamic mastery. Dynamics in timbre, dynamics in width, layering, and what was that other one? Volume. These guys just have a mastery over the dynamic elements of this song, and they know exactly when to use what they need to use at the time it needs to be used to create the sound that they want to create, which that's a mouthful. There was one section though that I really wanted to point out. I honed in on it. It surprised me. I loved it. We had two guitars, a bass, and a vocal. Might have been vocal harmonies. Might have been. Might have been. There's a lot of vocal harmonies in here where they were all doing their own thing and all doing lead lines. Well, I take that. I think the left guitar was doing some harmonic chordal stuff. Primarily, I think it had a melodic element to it, but I don't know if I would classify it as a lead line. But the right pan guitar, the bass, and the vocalist were certainly all playing lead melodic primary lines. And the way that they were interplaying off of each other was gorgeous. This is, I don't have a running list, all right, of my favorite moments of Counterpoint. But if I did, this would probably be up there. The playfulness rhythmically of these three instruments was beautiful, but they also had some really nice melodic components as well when they would line up, even if it was just for a split second, to basically create out of these three moving lines this really nice chordal movement between them, based primarily on dyads. And yeah, it was just phenomenal to listen to sit here and listen to that sort of craftsmanship and composition. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. That is exactly what I look for when I'm listening for counterpoint in music. It's not just necessarily two lines running that don't interfere with each other, which can be difficult to do depending on your familiarity with running multiple lead lines. But in the end, I don't think it's too interesting. It adds a little spice for sure, but when you can get multiple lines influencing each other in ways to create a new idea that isn't held within the individual ideas, that's the pinnacle of counterpoint. That's what I'm looking for. Now, as it pertains to the theme, though, I'm kind of feeling in that same area where I was yesterday with Baroness, that there are moments for sure that feel vulnerable in this track, but as a whole, this is an epic. There are some huge moments in here. We go to space in the middle. Um, it is. This is not a very. I don't want to say the word vulnerable. You can't define a word with a or with a word, but I'm really, when I put this theme up, I was expecting songs that are more personal, more isolated. Uh, maybe like, I don't know, a person and a guitar. What was that? What was that? Man, we listened to a track a while ago. I don't even remember if it was for a theme or not, but it had a woman and she sang through like four phases. The music video was pretty lengthy, and I think I don't, man, I wish I could remember. Um, that's kind of the music I was expecting for this one. It can be a little wider and larger. It doesn't necessarily have to be a sparse production, but I'm definitely expecting songs that are quieter and lean a little bit more into pensiveness and thoughtfulness and personal. And this seems very larger than life. Like I said, there's some aspects in here that I think work for the theme, individual portions of it, which kind of ties into what I've read here about an interview about the song is that it was originally just a folk song, and eventually it kind of blossomed out and was surrounded by these larger themes. And I think that that core folk song aspect works well for this theme. Um, but it's those larger ideas that are surrounding it that kind of make it don't fit for me. So and maybe it's a lyrical thing. I don't have a lyrical breakdown here. There is a lot of lyrics. It's also interesting that it's written in six movements, four movements. Yeah, it's written in four movements, which kind of ties in with what I said. Intro, middle section, bridge, the interlude, the second section, which would be the return of the verse chorus, and then the outro. So yeah, I think I nailed that. I think I nailed that well. Um, but yeah, this man, it's a good song for sure, and I think I've explained a lot of the things I enjoy about it. I am just a hair bit disappointed that it's not. Sorry, that's not as vulnerable as I wanted it to be. Which man, it is what it is. This happens sometimes. I felt the same way with what was that? Oh, Jazz Fusion Week, and Metalcore Week, where I was expecting one thing, and based on my limited knowledge of said thing, and I got something very different all week. And I think that's going to happen this time, where I had a specific sound in mind, and maybe I just didn't clarify it properly. And we're just going to get some stuff that is close, just not exactly what I was looking for, which is fine. It just reminds me I need to hone my language down, and we can give it a shot another time. All right, though, this is where you guys come in. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you thought of yeses and you and I. Why is that so weird to say yes and you and I? I don't know. It feels like it wants to be a sentence, but then it isn't at all. There's no verb. Anyways, I'm rambling. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this one or not. Anything that stuck out to you. If you have anything to add on to what I was saying, or if you disagree with anything I've said, go ahead and put those comments down. Let's start a conversation in the comment section, and let me see your perspective. And we can all grow as music listeners. Above the comment section, there's a description box, and in there is a link for Linktree. This is what you'll see when you click on it. It's a nice menu with everything related to the channel, as well as me personally. You can find the channel's Patreon, merch, special selections, Twitter, all sorts of stuff. You can also email me directly, check out what I've been making, check out what I've been listening to, yada yada. There's a lot of stuff in there. All right, after that, above the description, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those things. We got one more video coming up in a minute and a half. It'll be our special selection for the day. Otherwise, you can check me out tomorrow at 5 p.m. My brain just died. 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC. We'll be doing another vulnerable side track as well as a special selection. All right, until next time, remember to be critical but not cynical of the music you listen to. Have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.